there students, today we're continuing from yesterday's texture painting with some more texture painting. So get out your models and let's finish this up, hopefully before an hour. Alrighty, we finished with the body. We're gonna work on the ears, hands and feet, and then I believe we should be good to move on. Alright. So let's work on these ears first. So select your head, UV editing to make sure all of these are here, texture paint. Alright, so let's select that dark color again. We're going to have pressure on the strength, pen pressure for the strength. Leave that turned on. And we're going to add some shading in these areas. Like that. And around like this. To get that kind of shape. Alrighty, I'm gonna do a little line here. And another shape like this. Then kind of connect these shapes and continue this down. Gonna turn down the size of that using the square brackets and continue this line around. Alright, so that is where that indent shape is. So this is the area you're going to want to be dark. So make sure to make that dark. Yeah, that looks better. And this edge, I'm going to select this medium color. Put it around there. And here. Drawing this Y shape here. Selecting that dark color again. Alright. Gonna add some red to this ear. Actually, let's do that thing we did last time and select the red directly from these cheeks. So it's a bit more consistent. Actually, I'm gonna darken it up a little bit before adding it. So I don't need to layer it that much. Turn the strength down. Adding some subtle pinkness to the ear. I'm gonna try and darken this line a little bit. Turn this down. I'm gonna try and get some sort of an outline for this ear. Subtle though. If you want to draw something less complicated, more than welcome to. Did that line and darken some of these areas. Now, again, however you want to blur this, you can do it in here or in Critter. I think I'm going to have a much more fun time if I do that in Critter, so I'm going to switch to Critter like that. And then zoom into these ears with my favourite blur brush. And soften that out. So hit save, go to Blender, reload the image, but it will look less real if you just add an outline to it. So even darker than this, can keep the strength there. This will get rid of any of that realism look. You don't like it. Just blurring these edges a little bit. This is kind of like the liquify tool in Photoshop actually, now that I'm thinking about it. Just gonna save that. Head over to the body, UV editing, making sure this is all selected. Going to texture paint and having a good look at these hands. I'm gonna select this dark color again. And we're gonna look at this hand. So this is the underside of the hand, the one that looks a bit neater and is smaller. I'm gonna turn off the pressure and get this colored in. I'll deal with the wrist in a second, because that's gonna need some work. I'm gonna get this bottom part colored in, and you want to go around these edges, and you want to be careful with it too. So here, all the way around. And yes, go outside the lines again. Also, just look for 2 lines on the edge and try and keep within those. I'm not even going to try and blend this in Blender. I'm going to go straight to Critter. So you have something that looks like this. Dark on the bottom, light on the top. Just smooth that out. So image, save. And here we are in Critter. Get your blur brush, and we want to soften these inner edges. You don't want to go, you want to focus on bringing the color inwards rather than messing with the outside too much. You want it to be soft. Soft all the way around. Save that, and then open it back in Blender. Alright. Reload your image, and you'll see that's way softer now. It's a lot better. Alright, let's get some light color back in. So select the light colors, and you want to add light where there's mass, and there's a lot of mass. So I'm going to turn this on, strength pressure. You want to try and stay within the shape as well, so not going outside. So there's mass here. There's mass here. And down the side as well. There's also some the fingers. I can keep it small again. So try and split this into 3 parts. Like this, and this, and this. This. Hopefully when it's blurred it won't be too obvious. The thumb area will be split into 2 parts. Save. We're going to try and blend this out so you can't really distinguish between these shapes too much at all. Going straight back into Critter now. There's a lot of back and forth because I really like these Critter tools. Critter, try and hide these. Like that. And it's super easy to do this in Critter. So save. Go to Blender. Just reloaded the image. This is what you have. You can almost not tell that there's super obvious shading there. Almost. You still want to be able to see it because it gives a lot of shape to the hands. But what we don't want is these harsh edges. So the best thing you can do is try and get rid of them. Just select that dark color again from somewhere that's not blended, like here for example, or behind the ear. And then we're going to have this strength pressure on. And try and blur this out a little bit with a soft brush. You can also just grab that smear tool and go over it like that. Either one will be good. Now because of how we unwrap this isn't too hard. Because everything is very visible and not between the fingers. Let's go around. I can go in another time with the smudge tool a bit later to neaten it up a bit. So for now, just try and get rid of these straight edges. You don't want them on something that's very round and soft. Soften out these hands. When things are less harsh, you can also, well first I'd hit save and then just hit some of these areas with the blur tool. Right here, soften. Try and soften that even more. Especially if you've already gone over it. With Blender, the least work that you make these tools do, the better it'll look and the best they'll do for you. I'm just getting that smear tool and then going over these bits. And this bit here. Alright. Now, this whole hand, I did say I want to make it lighter, and I definitely do. So I'm going to select that, and I'm going to take the strength off and put this down to like 30%, and have it go at lightening this area. So I'm going to save this, and just go over it once. Because it does look weird having these heavily shaded hands on an anime style model. So you do that once, and then with this, do it once again. And as long as you don't take your brush off, or your pen, or your mouse, whatever you're using, as long as you don't take it off, it should be fine. And it should blend nicely. There you go. This is a lot more subtle than it was. Now this wrist area though, I'm gonna see what I can do about that. I'm gonna select this color, turn the strength back up. Oh, actually, this will be easier. Because this area is just one color. I can just turn that strength on and fade out this wrist area. Like that. So it matches pretty well, but also getting back that middle color and putting it down the center. There we go. So there's your hand. The feet are basically the same. I'm gonna rush through them a little bit, but first I'm gonna save this and clean it up in Critter. Image, reload. Hardly any difference. Right, so the feet, gonna do the same way. Gonna select a dark color. And just color this whole bottom of the foot in. This we can actually leave a lot darker. And then we go around the edges of the toes. So scale this down with your square brackets. Just color these edges. Now let's just have a look at the bottom of those feet. Make sure you're not coloring up too high. Here. And here. Does look like the bottom of this is to get a little bit dark first before it gets lighter. So let's just do that. Sort out this area like this. And this does seem to get a little bit darker as well. Gonna carve this up and around, darken this area a little bit, and same here. Gonna bring this up a little bit more actually, this inner shading. So this line is just to blend in with that side of the leg. With this, I'm gonna round out the back of the foot and keep an eye on these. I'm gonna do this, this, this. Also here, do this and this. Image. Save, and going right back into Critter. Alright, almost there now. So in Critter, get our favorite blur brush, go around these edges, soften them out. If you're scared of doing it wrong, feel free to duplicate the layer and paint on the layer above. Also, not everyone's model needs to have feet. So if you don't want to do the feet, you don't have to. Most of the time it just gets cut off anyway. I'm going to shade this area quite a lot. Blur this area quite a lot, I mean. This is definitely not going to look perfect when we put it back in Blender. But for now, let's try and soften these out. Alrighty. Hit save. Image. Reload. There you go, it's not perfect, but getting there. So this needs to be softened out, and I am actually going to fade this up a little bit. So let's look at these legs for a second. Alright, I'm gonna quickly go back into Critter and blur those out because they're a little too harsh. They're very much too harsh. Gonna reload image. It's a lot softer now. You should have the right color selected, so just grab that, turn on strength, pen pressure again. Let's try and soften these lines out. This will be kind of like an like an airbrush. Just a little bit. Just keep softening out those lines. Try and use as big a brush as you can, but not have a brush like this. Because if you do this, you'll get harsh lines on these edges here. So you don't want the brush that big. So try not to colour on the edges. Gonna select a light colour again. Here, just grab the middle of that head and try and lighten this area out now. Now I've darkened it, try and lighten it. Like that kind of deal. Not to the point where it's the same as everything else, but just not so harsh. Like this kind of thing. I'm also going to do is grab these colours, just darken around this area, and this back area too. Try and blur that a little bit so it doesn't look too obvious. Sort out that ankle. Right here, select this color in the middle. Make sure you have your strength on, strength pressure. Round out this bottom area. Soften that up. Image, save. Now I've got that part done. All this area around the toes are very blurred. You should still have your light color selected. We're gonna get a reference for the foot and see where those fatty parts are. There's a fatty part here. This is the big toe, remember. There's a fatty part here. And this is the side where it curves up. So we're gonna leave that dark. Gonna lighten up this ankle area and put a line there. Also, all these toes. Just put a circle on the tip. Good, like that. So it should look like that. And then we're gonna do my favorite thing. Save. Go into Gritter. Blur it. I'll be right back. Hit save, image, reload. Pretty much almost perfect, almost. Still got to sort out these edges that get a little too light. Let's get that dark color again. I'm gonna select it from here. And let's get rid of those sharp edges with this. Get over here. And I think that is the main one actually. All the rest seem to be okay. I'm just gonna hit it with the blur. Alright, image, save. Just wanna double check and darken up these areas. Select that dark color again. Make sure you don't see any obvious edges like that. And this, and these as well. Do the other side too. With the nails, we can do something pretty simple for them since they're going to be so bright. Let's grab this color with the eyedropper. Gonna add some green to it and darken it up. Gonna grab this and go around the edges. Just with all of them. And we are going to blur this, yes. Blurring is going to be one of your best friends. Unless you want to keep these edges hard, you're just gonna have to be a lot more precise with where you're putting these lines. But this is the easiest style to do, I believe. As long as you know where the shadows are, you can pretty much just get away with blurring those things. Alright. So we've got that dark colour. So let me go even further outside these lines. Oh, actually that's what I've done. Select that, turn off that. Doesn't have any transparency. Go around this again. And let's get a white colour, whiter colour, even wider. This is quite a bright colour. Just getting the tips of these nails. Same with the fingernails. Right, image, save. So remember, when you open it in Krita, you have to open the saved file and not the old file. So remember, if you don't see these edits, it means you've not opened the saved file. Just going in here with the blur and softening that all out, because gradients give so much life to things, which is why we're using the blur tool so much. Done. Go hit save. Go to Blender, image, reload, and there you have pretty nails. If the gradient is too intense for you, feel free to select the middle color and go over it one more time with something more opaque. So let's say you go down to 30% again and just hit all of these nails once more. Then it'll be slightly less intense. I think that's nice, that subtle gradient. So that is it for the shading. Alright, so that is all the texture painting done for today. Isn't that cool? Next we will be applying a lot of these mirrors and modifiers and finally getting to rigging this thing up. And then once we rig it, we're gonna test it and move on. And move on from there. Alright, awesome. Thanks for coming to class. Make sure to post your work below so I can grade it. And I'll see you in the next lesson. Farewell!